The little black girl fetched water alone every day for her dying mother, until a Comanche followed her home, watching from the shadows as she stumbled under the weight of her wooden pail. The trembling child walked through hostile stares and whispered curses, dismissed by the frontier town as nothing more than a burden destined for the orphanage. Behind the ridgeline, the exiled warrior tracked her movements with growing curiosity, seeing resilience where others saw weakness. What neither the girl nor the town knew was that buried beneath their feet lay secrets from the dying woman's past, documents that could either save them all or destroy everything they'd built. But first, the warrior had to make a choice that would change 3 lives forever. Would his emergence from the wilderness bring salvation to the desperate family? Or would it unleash the very forces that could see them all dead by dawn? Before we continue, comment where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will publish a story there. The morning sun cast long shadows across Cedar Bend as 12-year-old Zinnia Blackwood stepped onto the dusty main street. Her worn boots kicked up small clouds with each careful step. The wooden bucket in her small hands felt heavier today. Mrs. Henderson yanked her laundry from the line as Zinnia passed. The woman's eyes followed the girl with obvious disgust. 3 children playing marbles stopped their game to stare. One picked up a small stone. Zinnia quickened her pace. The rock struck her shoulder blade. She didn't turn around. At Morrison's general store, she approached the counter with 2 precious coins. Her mother needed medicine. Any medicine. "We're closed to your kind today," Morrison said without looking up from his ledger. "Please, sir. My mama's real sick." "Should have thought about that before settling where you ain't wanted." The door chimed as she left empty-handed. More stones followed her down the street. This time they aimed better. Doc Winters sat on his porch, watching her struggle past his white-painted fence. His medical bag rested beside his rocking chair. He'd made house calls to every family in town except theirs. "Doc Winters," Zinnia called softly. "Could you maybe visit Mama today?" The doctor's rocking chair creaked to a stop. "Girl, I told you before. I got paying customers to tend to." "We can pay. Not enough." Sheriff Hartwell emerged from his office, badge glinting in the harsh light. His boots struck the wooden boardwalk with authority. "You causing trouble again, girl?" "No, sir. Just asking about medicine for Mama. Your Mama's been nothing but trouble since she arrived. Maybe it's time you both moved on." Zinnia's hands tightened around the bucket handle. "This is our home, Sheriff. Home belongs to folks who belong here." His hand rested on his gun belt. "Your kind don't belong nowhere permanent." The walk back to their cabin took 20 minutes through scrub brush and rocky terrain. Their small home sat isolated beyond the town's edge. Mercy Blackwood lay in the single bed, her breathing shallow and labored. "Did Doc Winters come by?" Mercy's voice barely rose above a whisper. "He was busy, Mama." Mercy studied her daughter's face. Dirt streaked Zinnia's cheek where tears had mixed with dust. "What happened in town?" "Nothing new. Show me your arms." Zinnia rolled up her sleeves. Purple bruises dotted her forearms from yesterday's stones. Fresh scrapes marked today's encounter. "Baby girl, you don't have to keep going back there. You need medicine, food, water. The well out back still works fine." Zinnia walked to their small window. The wooden bucket beside their well sat cracked and useless. Green scum covered the water's surface. "Someone poisoned it again, Mama. Threw something dead down there." Mercy closed her eyes. In her fevered state, memories surfaced unbidden. Safe houses along the Underground Railroad. Federal agents who'd promised protection. Documents hidden for safekeeping. Gold coins wrapped in oilcloth. "There's a creek," Mercy said finally. "Willow Creek, 2 miles north through the pine grove." "That's awful far, Mama." "Clean water runs there. Sweet water." Zinnia nodded. Her mother needed clean water more than she needed easy water. The next morning, Zinnia began her trek to Willow Creek. Pine needles cushioned her footsteps. Birds called from hidden branches. For the first time in weeks, she felt peaceful. The creek sparkled in dappled sunlight. Clear water rushed over smooth stones. Zinnia filled her bucket carefully, savoring the cool spray on her hands. On the walk home, Something felt different. A presence in the trees, eyes watching her movements. She quickened her pace but didn't run. Running showed fear. Mama had taught her that during their travels years ago. Never let them see you afraid, baby girl. Fear invites trouble. The feeling followed her home. That evening, Mercy drank the sweet creek water with obvious relief. Color returned to her cheeks within hours. "This water tastes like freedom," she said. "What do you mean, Mama?" "Nothing, baby. Just tastes clean." But Zinnia caught something in her mother's expression. A memory. A secret. The second day brought the same routine. Walk to Willow Creek. Fill the bucket. Feel those hidden eyes tracking her journey. On the third day, she saw him. A figure moved between the trees, roughly 50 yards behind her. Tall. Silent. When she stopped, he stopped. When she walked, he followed. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Stories filled her head of Comanche raids, scalping parties, children stolen in the night. But something seemed different about this follower. He kept his distance, made no threatening moves. By the fourth day, curiosity overcame fear. At the creek, she filled her bucket slower than usual. The watcher remained in the tree line, patient as stone. She caught glimpses of long black hair, bronze, skin, leather clothing. Zinnia stood and faced the trees directly. "I know you're there," she called. Silence answered. "I ain't afraid of you." That part was mostly true. The figure stepped forward into a shaft of sunlight. A Comanche warrior, but something in his posture seemed peaceful. His hands remained visible and empty. He spoke a single word in his own language, then repeated it in English. "Water." Zinnia's grip tightened on the bucket handle. The Comanche warrior stood 20 feet away, his dark eyes studying her face rather than her fear. He pointed to the creek, then to her bucket, then to himself. "You want water too?" He nodded once, slow and deliberate. Something about his stillness calmed her racing heart. Wild men didn't ask permission. Raiders didn't point politely at creeks. "Go ahead," she said, stepping back. The warrior approached the water's edge with careful movements. He cupped his hands and drank deeply. When he finished, he reached into a leather pouch tied to his belt. Small dried leaves emerged from the pouch. He held them toward her. "What's that?" "Medicine," he said in heavily accented English. "For Mother. Sick Mother." Zinnia's eyes widened. How could he possibly know about Mama? The warrior must have read her confusion. He touched his chest, then pointed toward the direction of their cabin. "I watch. You carry heavy water. Walk tired. Mother very sick." "You been watching our house?" "Watching you. Brave girl walks alone. Brings water to dying woman." The word dying hit like a physical blow. Everyone could see what Zinnia refused to accept. She ain't dying. She's just sick. The warrior's expression softened. He held out the dried leaves again. "Willow bark. Make tea. Help breathing. Help fever." Zinnia stared at the offering. Doc Winters wouldn't treat Mama. Morrison's store stayed closed to them. But here stood a man the whole town would shoot on sight, offering medicine freely. "Why would you help us?" "Good water here." He gestured to the creek. "Healing place. You respect water. I respect you." She reached out slowly and accepted the leaves. They felt papery and light in her palm. "My name's Zinnia. I am Running Bear." Running Bear. She tested the name carefully. "Were you really a medicine man?" His eyebrows raised slightly. "How you know this?" "The way you look at things. Like my mama used to look at plants when I was little. She knew healing too." Running Bear's posture shifted with interest. "Your mother is healer." "Was, before we came here. She helped folks during their travels." Zinnia caught herself before revealing too much. Mama's Underground Railroad work remained dangerous knowledge. "What plants she teach you?" Zinnia pointed to various growth around the creek. "That's wild mint for stomach troubles. Those red berries help with women's monthly pain. The moss growing on them rocks can stop bleeding." Running Bear listened with growing amazement. This child possessed knowledge most adults never learned. Your mother teach well. You remember everything? I remember most everything I see or hear. Mama says it's a gift. Is gift. Very rare gift. They walked along the creek bank as Zinnia identified more plants. Running Bear added information about roots and preparation methods. The exchange felt natural, like conversations between old friends. Why don't you live with your tribe no more? Zinnia asked. Running Bear's jaw tightened. My people choose war path. I choose healing path. Sometimes paths cannot walk together. They kicked you out for not fighting? They say I bring weakness. I say killing brings more killing. Zinnia understood that kind of loneliness. Being different meant being alone. Where do you live now? Cave in high rocks, 2 miles north. He pointed toward distant cliffs. Safe place, quiet place. They reached a bend in the creek where a massive fallen log created a natural bridge. Running Bear tested its stability, then helped Zinnia cross to where unusual plants grew in rich soil. This one very powerful, he said, kneeling beside a low shrub with silver-green leaves. For lung sickness. Your mother's sickness. Zinnia knelt beside him, watching his careful harvesting technique. He took only what he needed, leaving the plant healthy and whole. How do you know what Mama has? Sound carries on wind. Heard coughing from your cabin. Deep cough that shakes whole body. A chill ran down Zinnia's spine. If Running Bear could hear Mama's coughing from his cave, so could others. Sheriff Hartwell made regular patrols near their property. Is she really dying? Running Bear met her eyes honestly. Without medicine, yes. With right medicine and good care, maybe no. Hope bloomed in Zinnia's chest for the first time in weeks. Will you teach me? You want learn Comanche medicine? I want to save my mama. Running Bear studied her face for a long moment. Determination burned in her young eyes. Intelligence sparkled in her questions. Most importantly, respect showed in how she handled every plant they'd discussed. Learning takes time, takes trust. I got time, and I trust you more than anyone in that town. Town people see you with Comanche. They make big trouble. Zinnia thought about the stones, the closed doors, the doctor's refusal. They already making trouble. Least this trouble might help Mama. Running Bear made his decision. We meet here every day, same time. I teach medicine. You teach me about Mother's old healing ways. Deal. They shook hands solemnly. Her small palm disappeared in his weathered grip. First lesson now, Running Bear said. He showed her how to prepare the willow bark tea, how long to steep the leaves, what temperature worked best. Take to Mother tonight. Give small cup every few hours. Watch her breathing. Zinnia carefully tucked the prepared medicine into her pocket, alongside the silver-green leaves. Walking home with her water bucket, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Actual hope. The willow bark tea worked like magic. Within 3 days, Mercy's coughing subsided enough for her to sit up in bed. Her fever broke on the 4th night. By the end of the 1st week, she could walk to their small kitchen table. Where did you learn to make this medicine? Mercy asked, sipping her morning tea. Found some old plants by the creek, Zinnia lied smoothly. Remembered what you taught me. Mercy's sharp eyes studied her daughter's face. You sure that's all? Yes, Mama. But Mercy noticed other changes. Zinnia moved with new confidence around their cabin. She identified plants with precision that hadn't existed before. Her knowledge of root preparation seemed deeper, more complete. Meanwhile, Zinnia's daily meetings with Running Bear transformed both their worlds. At Willow Creek, Running Bear taught her to read the forest like a book. Which mushrooms healed wounds. How to extract medicine from tree bark without killing the tree. The proper phases of moon for harvesting different plants. Your memory is gift from Great Spirit, Running Bear said, as Zinnia perfectly repeated complex preparation instructions. Most people forget. You hold every word. Mama always said I was strange that way. Not strange, chosen. In return, Zinnia shared stories from her mother's Underground Railroad days. She described the secret network of safe houses, the coded messages, the dangerous journeys through hostile territory. "Your mother very brave woman," Running Bear said. "Help slaves find freedom." "She helped lots of folks. Said everyone deserves to be free." Wise teaching. Their friendship deepened through shared knowledge and mutual respect. Running Bear showed her how to move silently through woods, how to read animal tracks, how to find direction using stars. Zinnia taught him English phrases and described the changing world beyond the frontier. She explained steam trains, telegraph wires, and growing cities back east. "White man's world moves very fast," Running Bear observed. "Too fast sometimes. Your people and my people. We get crushed between old ways and new ways." Zinnia understood exactly what he meant. 3 weeks into their secret meetings, trouble began brewing in town. Doc Winters noticed Mercy's improvement during his monthly ride past their cabin. She was hanging laundry on the line, moving with strength that shouldn't exist. He reported his observations to Sheriff Hartwell immediately. "That woman was dying a month ago," Doc Winters said. "Now she's doing chores like nothing happened." "People don't recover from consumption without medicine," Sheriff Hartwell replied. "And nobody in this town sold them medicine. So how'd she get better? That's what we're going to find out." The sheriff began watching the Blackwood cabin more carefully. He noticed Zinnia's daily treks toward the pine forest. Her confident walk suggested purpose beyond simple water collection. "Girl's up to something," he muttered to his deputy, "and I aim to discover what." Meanwhile, Zinnia's education with Running Bear reached new levels of sophistication. "Today you learn about plant spirits," Running Bear said at their creekside meeting. "Every healing plant has spirit inside. Must ask permission before taking." "How do you ask permission from a plant?" "Speak with respect. Tell plant why you need its medicine. Take only what you need." Zinnia practiced the ritual carefully. She approached a patch of healing moss growing on creek stones. "I need your medicine for my sick mama," she whispered to the moss. "Please share your healing spirit with us." Running Bear nodded approvingly. "Plant spirits answer respectful requests." "Do you really believe plants have spirits?" "I believe everything in creation has purpose. Plants choose to help or not help. Respect makes them choose helping." This philosophy made perfect sense to Zinnia. She'd always felt connected to growing things, even as a small child. "Running Bear, can I ask you something personal?" "Ask." "Do you miss your tribe?" His expression grew distant. "I miss the good parts, the ceremonies, the stories around fires, the feeling of belonging somewhere." "But you don't miss the fighting." "Never miss fighting. Fighting only brings more pain." "Then why don't you find a peaceful tribe?" "Peaceful tribes very rare now. White soldiers push all tribes toward war or reservation. No middle path left." Zinnia felt the weight of his loneliness. "Maybe you could live near town, help people who need healing. Town people shoot Comanche on sight. No questions asked. Not all of them are bad. Bad ones have guns and badges." Their conversation was interrupted by distant sounds. Horses moving through the forest, multiple riders heading in their direction. Running Bear's entire body went alert. "Hunting party." "How do you know?" "Too many horses, moving too slow. They track something." Fear shot through Zinnia's chest. "Are they tracking you?" "Maybe. Or maybe tracking you." The hoofbeats grew closer. Running Bear gathered his medicine pouch quickly. "Go home different way," he instructed. "Circle wide through thick trees. Meet here tomorrow, same time, if safe." "What if it's not safe? Then we find new meeting place." Running Bear melted into the forest with incredible speed. One moment he stood beside her, the next he'd vanished completely. Zinnia filled her bucket and started home through the route he'd suggested. Thick pine branches concealed her movement. She reached their cabin just as Sheriff Hartwell's party emerged from the tree line near Willow Creek. From her kitchen window, she watched the men search the area where she and Running Bear had been standing minutes earlier. Sheriff Hartwell dismounted and examined the ground carefully. Boot prints, knee marks in the soft earth, signs of recent human activity. "Someone's been meeting here regular," he announced to his men. "And it ain't just the girl." Sheriff Hartwell returned the next morning with a larger search party. 8 men on horseback combed the forest around Willow Creek. They found more evidence of regular meetings, footprints from 2 different people, signs of plant harvesting, a makeshift seat carved from fallen log. "Somebody's been teaching that girl things," Hartwell told his deputy, "and I got a strong suspicion who." Meanwhile, Zinnia waited nervously at the creek. Running Bear appeared from a different direction than usual, moving more cautiously through the trees. "Many men searched yesterday," he said quietly. "They know about our meetings. Sheriff Hartwell's been asking questions in town about Mama's recovery. Dangerous time. Maybe we stop meeting for a while." Zinnia's heart sank. "But Mama's still not completely well. She needs more medicine." Running Bear studied the worry in her young face. This girl had become like family to him. The thought of abandoning her felt impossible. "We find new place. Safer place." "Where?" "My cave. But journey is harder. More dangerous if caught." "I can make it." That evening, Zinnia prepared her mother for a difficult conversation. Mercy's strength had returned enough for household tasks, but her breathing still occasionally labored during exertion. "Mama, I need to tell you something important." Mercy set down her sewing and gave Zinnia her full attention. "I haven't been getting your medicine from plants I found myself." "I figured as much. Your knowledge grew too fast." "A Comanche man's been teaching me. His name is Running Bear. He's a healer." Mercy's expression remained surprisingly calm. "How long has this been going on?" "About a month. He followed me to the creek one day, offered to help when he saw how sick you were." "And you trusted him?" "He saved your life, Mama." Mercy considered this information carefully. During her Underground Railroad years, she'd learned to judge people by their actions rather than their appearance or reputation. "Tell me about this man." Zinnia described Running Bear's gentle nature, his vast medical knowledge, his exile from his tribe for refusing to participate in raids. She explained how he'd taught her plant identification, preparation methods, and respectful harvesting techniques. "He sounds like a good man caught in bad circumstances," Mercy said finally. "He is, Mama. But Sheriff Hartwell's getting suspicious. Found our meeting place. We can't keep meeting at the creek." "Where will you meet now?" "His cave in the high rocks. It's further away, but safer." Mercy nodded slowly. "Baby girl, what I'm about to tell you must stay between us." "Yes, Mama." "During my Underground Railroad days, I worked with all kinds of folks. White folks, freed slaves, even some Cherokee who helped runaways hide in mountain caves. Color didn't matter. What mattered was helping people get free." Zinnia listened intently. "When we came to Cedar Bend, I brought certain things with me. Important things from those days." "What kind of things?" "Documents. Papers that prove who helped the railroad and who betrayed it. Names of government officials who paid rewards. Evidence of corruption." Zinnia's eyes widened. "Why did you keep all that?" "Insurance. In case we ever needed protection." "Where are these papers now?" Mercy stood and walked to their small window. She pointed toward a large oak tree roughly 50 yards behind their cabin. "Buried in an oilcloth packet beneath that oak, along with gold coins the government paid me for my railroad service." "Gold coins?" "Enough to change our circumstances considerably." Zinnia felt the world shifting around her. Her family wasn't as powerless as she'd believed. "Why haven't you dug them up before now?" "Because using them meant revealing our past, and revealing our past could put us in different kind of danger." "But now we're already in danger." "Exactly." The next morning, Zinnia began the longer journey to Running Bear's cave. The path wound through dense forest, over rocky terrain, and up steep hillsides. The climb tested her endurance, but her daily water carrying had built strong leg muscles. Running Bear's cave sat hidden behind a natural rock formation. Inside, the space opened into a comfortable living area with sleeping furs, cooking stones, and carefully organized medicine supplies. "This is amazing," Zinnia said, examining his extensive plant collection. "Safe place. Secret place." Running Bear had prepared a special lesson about advanced healing techniques. He showed her how to create poultices for deep wounds, how to set broken bones using tree branches, how to treat poisoning from bad water or spoiled food. Your mother was lucky to have daughter who learns fast, he said. Running Bear, can I trust you with a secret? Yes. Zinnia told him about the buried documents and gold. She explained her mother's underground railroad work and the evidence they possessed. Your mother helped many people find freedom? Lots of people. For years and years. And she has papers that prove government corruption. Papers with names and payment records. Running Bear's expression grew thoughtful. These papers could be powerful weapons. What do you mean? Men who take bribes fear exposure more than they fear guns. You think we could use them against Sheriff Hartwell? If Sheriff took money for betraying runaway slaves, your mother's papers might prove it. Zinnia felt excitement building. Maybe they weren't helpless after all. But first we need to know what those papers actually say. And first we need to dig them up without anyone seeing us. Running Bear nodded. Very dangerous work, but maybe necessary work. That evening, Zinnia returned home with new hope and new medicine for her mother. But she also carried the weight of important decisions approaching fast. Sheriff Hartwell's suspicions were growing stronger every day. Soon he would take direct action against their family. The time for hiding and hoping was running out. The digging happened at midnight, under a moonless sky. Mercy insisted on helping despite her weakened condition. Running Bear kept watch from the tree line while mother and daughter worked by feel alone. 3 feet down, Zinnia's shovel struck something solid. That's it, Mercy whispered. The oilcloth packet emerged intact. Mercy's careful wrapping had protected everything from moisture and decay. Inside, official documents bore government seals and signatures. Gold coins clinked softly in a separate pouch. Back inside their cabin, Running Bear examined the papers by candlelight. His English reading had improved during years of exile, but the legal language proved challenging. This paper has many names, he said, pointing to a long list. Government men who paid money for information about runaway slaves. Mercy nodded grimly. Bounty hunters and corrupt officials. They paid good money to know which routes the railroad used. Zinnia studied the documents over Running Bear's shoulder. One name appeared repeatedly throughout the records. Cornelius Hartwell, she read aloud. That's the sheriff's full name. He received payments for years, Mercy confirmed. Betrayed dozens of families trying to reach freedom. Running Bear's jaw tightened. This man has much blood on his hands. And now he wants our land, Zinnia said. Probably been planning it since we arrived. Look at this document, Mercy said, pulling out an official certificate. Federal land grant, payment for my railroad service. We own this property legal and clear, plus mineral rights to everything underneath. Mineral rights? Zinnia asked. Coal, gold, silver. Anything valuable in the ground belongs to us. Running Bear understood immediately. Sheriff wants to steal land that contains treasure. That's why he's been so eager to get rid of us, Mercy said. Railroad surveys came through last month. They're planning a line right through this area. The pieces fell together like a deadly puzzle. Hartwell needed them gone before anyone discovered their legal ownership. Dead families couldn't claim property rights. We have to act fast, Zinnia said. He's getting more aggressive every day. But how do we use this evidence without getting ourselves killed? Mercy asked. Running Bear had been thinking about exactly that question. We need witness, someone in town who will speak truth. Doc Winters, Zinnia suggested. He's scared of Hartwell, but he's not evil like the sheriff. Can we trust him? He's the only one who might listen. The next morning brought crisis. Sheriff Hartwell arrived at their cabin with 5 armed men. His badge gleamed in the early sunlight, but his intentions had nothing to do with lawful authority. Mercy Blackwood, you're under arrest for harboring hostile Indians. I haven't harbored anyone, Mercy replied calmly. Your daughter's been meeting with a Comanche brave. That makes you an accomplice. Zinnia stepped protectively in front of her mother. Mama didn't know about my meetings. Girl, you just confessed to consorting with the enemy. He's not an enemy. He's a healer. Hartwell's men spread out around the cabin. Their hands rested on gun handles. Pack your belongings. You got 10 minutes before we escort you to jail. On what legal authority? Mercy asked. My authority. This is my county. Mercy met his eyes steadily. Actually, Sheriff, this is my land. I have the federal documents to prove it. Hartwell's expression shifted from smugness to concern. What documents? Land grant from the United States government. Payment for services rendered during wartime. You're lying. Would you like to see the papers? The sheriff's jaw worked silently. If legal documents existed, his entire scheme collapsed. Doesn't matter what papers you think you have, you're still under arrest. For what crime specifically? Treason, aiding enemy combatants. But doubt had crept into his voice. His men noticed the change and grew uncomfortable. Sheriff, one deputy said quietly, maybe we should see these documents first. Shut up, Miller. Running Bear watched from the forest as tension escalated around the cabin. The situation was spiraling toward violence. He made a decision that would change everything. Stepping into the clearing with his hands raised and empty, he called out clearly, I am Running Bear. I surrender myself. All guns swung toward him instantly. Don't shoot, Zinnia cried. He's not armed. Step away from the savage girl. He saved my mother's life. He's a killer. He's a healer who left his tribe because he refused to kill anyone. Running Bear walked slowly toward the group of armed men. I come in peace. I offer no violence to anyone. You're under arrest for trespassing and threatening settlers. I have threatened no one. I have helped sick women with medicine. Shut up and put your hands behind your back. Sheriff, Doc Winters called from the tree line. I'd like to examine the Indian's medical supplies before you arrest him. Everyone turned in surprise. The doctor had been watching from concealment. Doc, this ain't medical business, Hartwell said. Actually, it is. If this man has been practicing medicine in my territory, I need to evaluate his methods. Doc Winters approached Running Bear cautiously. Show me what you used to treat Mrs. Blackwood. Running Bear opened his medicine pouch. Dried herbs, prepared tinctures, and healing salves filled the leather container. These are legitimate medicinal plants, Doc Winters announced. Willow bark, sage, echinacea, all standard treatments for respiratory illness. So what? So this man likely saved Mrs. Blackwood's life using proper medical techniques. The doctor's unexpected support shifted the dynamic completely. Now, Sheriff, Mercy said calmly, would you like to see those federal documents? Mercy disappeared into the cabin and returned with the oilcloth packet. She handed the federal land grant to Doc Winters, deliberately bypassing Sheriff Hartwell's outstretched hand. Doc Winters examined the document carefully. Official seals, government signatures, and legal language confirmed its authenticity. This appears legitimate, he announced. Mrs. Blackwood holds clear title to this property, granted by federal authority for services to the Union during the war. Let me see that, Hartwell demanded. In a moment, Sheriff. I'm still reading. Doc Winters studied the bounty payment records next. His face grew pale as he recognized names and amounts. Mrs. Blackwood, these documents contain some very serious allegations. They contain facts, Doctor. Recorded payments to government officials who betrayed runaway slaves for profit. Hartwell lunged forward and snatched the papers from Doc Winters. His eyes scanned the pages rapidly. When he found his own name repeated throughout the records, his face turned ashen. These papers are forgeries. Examine the seals, Sheriff. Test the ink. Check the watermarks. Running Bear stepped closer to Zinnia, sensing violence approaching. Even if these papers are real, Hartwell said desperately, it doesn't change anything. You're still harboring a hostile Indian. Actually, it changes everything, Doc Winters said quietly. If Mrs. Blackwood owns this land legally, she has the right to invite anyone she chooses onto her property. Doc, you better think real careful about whose side you're taking here. I'm taking the side of the law, Sheriff, and the law says these folks have done nothing wrong. Hartwell's hand moved toward his gun. His men shifted nervously, unsure whether to follow their corrupt leader or support the legitimate landowners. Sheriff, Deputy Miller spoke up, maybe we should take these documents to the federal courthouse. Let the judge sort this out proper. There ain't going to be no judge, Hartwell snarled. This ends here today. Cornelius Hartwell, Mercy said in a voice that carried surprising authority. You have two choices. Walk away now and face federal charges later, or draw that gun and face murder charges immediately. You threatening a law officer? I'm offering you a chance to surrender with some dignity intact." Running Bear moved protectively beside Zinnia. "No more violence needed. Truth is already spoken." "Truth?" Hartwell laughed bitterly. "Truth is, I've spent 15 years building something in this town, and I ain't letting some traveling woman and her pet savage destroy it." "Sheriff," Doc Winters said firmly, "I'm ordering you to holster that weapon and step away from these people." "You ain't got authority to order me." "Anything, Doc." "Actually, I do." Doc Winters reached into his coat and withdrew a folded paper. "Federal Marshal's Commission. Temporary appointment pending investigation of corruption in this county." The revelation stunned everyone present. Doc Winters had been working undercover for weeks, gathering evidence of Hartwell's illegal activities. "Federal marshals are already en route," he continued. "Should arrive within the hour." Hartwell's world collapsed around him. His corruption exposed, his authority revoked, his schemes destroyed by the very people he'd tried to eliminate. "This ain't over," he said, but the fight had gone out of his voice. "Yes, it is," Mercy replied. "It's been over since the moment you decided to steal land from a federal landowner." Deputy Miller stepped forward and removed Hartwell's badge and gun. The other men followed his lead, distancing themselves from their disgraced leader. "Ma'am," Miller said to Mercy, "on behalf of decent folks in this county, I apologize for everything you and your daughter have endured." "Apology accepted, Deputy. What about him?" Miller nodded toward Running Bear. "What about him?" "Well, he's still an Indian living in white territory. He's a healer living on my property with my permission," Mercy said firmly. "Anyone who has a problem with that can discuss it with the federal marshals." 3 federal marshals arrived that afternoon. They arrested Hartwell for corruption, land fraud, and violation of federal property rights. The Underground Railroad evidence provided additional charges related to betraying refugees during wartime. Doc Winters submitted his report confirming Running Bear's peaceful nature and valuable medical knowledge. The marshals officially recognized his right to remain in the area under Mercy's protection. 6 months later, Cedar Bend looked like a different town. Zinnia operated a successful trading post that served both settler and Native American customers. Her unique ability to communicate with different groups made her a natural mediator for disputes. Running Bear worked as the town's official healer, combining traditional medicine with modern techniques learned from Doc Winters. His gentle nature and effective treatments earned grudging respect from former enemies. Mercy established a school that welcomed children regardless of background. Her Underground Railroad experiences provided powerful lessons about courage, justice, and human dignity. The railroad came through exactly as planned, but now it brought prosperity to the rightful landowners rather than corrupt officials. On warm afternoons, Zinnia still walked to Willow Creek for water, but now she traveled with friends from many different communities. Children of various backgrounds learned plant identification together. Former adversaries shared meals and stories. The creek that once witnessed secret meetings between 2 outcasts now hosted gatherings that celebrated unity over division. Running Bear built a proper medicine lodge near the water's edge. Mercy's school held outdoor classes in the same clearing where fear once ruled. "Remember when we thought this story would end badly?" Zinnia asked Running Bear one evening as they prepared medicine together. "Ending is not finished yet," he replied. "This is beginning of better story." "What do you mean?" "You will teach your children what we learned here. They will teach their children. Good medicine spreads like water flowing downstream." Mercy joined them at the workbench, her health completely restored through months of proper treatment and peaceful living. "My grandmother used to say that water always finds its way around obstacles," she said. "No matter how big the rocks, the water keeps flowing." Zinnia understood the wisdom perfectly. They had been like water, flowing around the obstacles of prejudice and corruption until they found their way to justice and peace. The little black girl who once fetched water alone had become a young woman who brought communities together, and the Comanche who followed her home had found his way back to belonging.